So hi everyone, my name is Ariel Hitron. I'm co-founder CEO of Second Nature, and I'm here with Mike Fisher from Zoom, who's an enterprise sales and productivity and enablement at Zoom. And we're going to talk about interesting new certification coaching using AI that we ran with Zoom. So Mike, can you start just by telling us a little bit about yourself and about Zoom?
Absolutely. Excited to be here. For those who aren't familiar with Zoom, we are a cloud platform that lets folks chat, call, and of course, meet over video from any device anywhere in the world. And I've been at Zoom for about 2 years now. Originally, I was doing sort of all things related to onboarding. And then most recently, I switched over to all things ongoing enablement, making sure all of our reps who are in seat feel really comfortable with the messaging and the ability to deliver happiness to our customers.
Awesome. That's awesome. So just to think back to our relationship and where it started, what led you to kind of think about Second Nature? Like what challenge or problem or thing kind of drove the conversation forward for you?
Absolutely. It was actually some of our phone sales leaders. We're actually really interested in making sure that all of our salespeople are really comfortable with the messaging around Zoom Phone. And our goal was to do much more role playing, especially with our frontline managers, and making sure that all of the reps were really comfortable talking to them. Of course, having the manager take on the persona of someone who wanted to have their reps practice discussing the value of Zoom Phone to. But as we began to document what it would take for a manager to do role playing, right, making sure that they themselves were comfortable with the messaging, coming up with a scoring system, a feedback loop mechanism. And then once we started thinking about all the different types of scenarios we'd want to role play, it really quickly became apparent that this would become a full-time job for any frontline manager. So we wanted to see if there was any software that existed that would allow us to scale a role-playing program, which is exactly how we found Second Nature and your AI, Jenny.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So just in terms of the background, I don't know if like everybody knows Zoom, obviously the meeting tool, but I'm not sure that everybody knows about the Zoom phone. So could you talk a little bit about that to give the right background to the people? Like how significant is that for you guys?
Oh, it's huge. Actually, the exact same video architecture and infrastructure that Zoom has set up around the world that provides such an outstanding video experience. We've layered in cloud PBX technology. Right, basically taking a phone system, layered it into the exact same architecture. And if you think about it, video communications is really the most internet intensive or bandwidth usage type of way to communicate. So when you take something that's a little bit less intensive like phone and put on that same solid architecture, you get an outstanding phone system that can scale like crazy and provide an outstanding experience too.
Wow, that's amazing. So that was quite a change for the company. Like instead of selling just the video conferencing product, selling a different product. And I think you had already at the time quite an extensive sales team. So it's a bit of a change management that you had to go through. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, as Zoom started to scale globally, we really wanted to make sure we standardized our messaging, and most importantly, made sure all of our customers were aware of the different ways we could keep them connected, right? Again, folks typically think of Zoom as a video communication platform to stay connected, but with our chat system, as well as our phone system, video conference rooms and webinars, there's so many different ways that we could help people stay connected in this new remote world. And we wanted to make sure that we could standardize that messaging and all those different value propositions to all of our customers globally. And this meant we needed to make sure every single salesperson was really comfortable discussing much more than just the video solution that we've become really well known for.
Got you. So have you tried like different solutions, like having them watch a video and do a quiz, or just record themselves, or any of these approaches? So why did you end up thinking about role plays as being so significant in that change management process?
Yeah, so I think like most companies, and especially every company that's gone remote, we sort of tried a number of different ways to enable our reps, whether it's having them record themselves and then, having the managers give feedback on it. What we found there though is, monologues just typically aren't very realistic, right? Well, you really wouldn't want your rep pontificating at a customer for 5 or 10 minutes. It should be much more of a dialogue, which with that, we had tried different types of e-learning technology where we could actually have reps, read a dialogue or look at the objection, teach them the right way to overcome it, or different value propositions. What we found is, reps could read it, take a quiz, but we didn't necessarily see a lot of the behavior change we'd expect. So what we did try to do, though, of course, is once we found with role playing in small scenarios, that was really effective. But once you start to see the number of role plays that are required to really make sure a rep feels comfortable, unfortunately, we find that even role playing with managers doesn't really scale at a global level.
Oh, that's interesting. So what what were the challenges of scaling up role plays? Was it that reps were not as engaged in it, or was it hard to track at the amount of people that you had, or because role plays, everybody loves role plays, right?
Yeah, well, what we found was, the biggest problem we needed to solve was actually really getting true behavior change, right? Not just necessarily checking the box that do the reps know the messaging, but are they comfortable actually applying it? And that's where really you need to build the muscle memory and get the practice. And that's exactly what we saw was we needed a certification, but calling it a certification automatically is sort of a scary word, right? To salespeople, it makes them think back to high school, like a final exam or something, or some pop quiz. So we didn't want to tell them we're certifying them, but we did need to make sure we had standardized messaging and provided a score that makes sure that they were in fact capable and comfortable delivering the right message. So that's exactly what we ended up leveraging Second Nature and an AI solution to simulate the role of the manager. That way we could have standardized messaging, standardized scoring, and most importantly, standardized feedback so the reps could keep improving on their messaging.
That's great. So what was the reception of it? What did the reps think about it? I'm guessing it was a bit of a change management, just getting this new tool. Were they excited about it? Were they kind of scary or skeptical about it? What was the initial response and how did it play out?
Yeah, it's, as you can imagine, telling everyone that we have an AI avatar who's going to use natural language processing to come in and take on role playing for us and solve all of our problems with scaling messaging. It sounds too good to be true. What we ended up finding, though, is the best way to really get reps to embrace a solution like this is we tried to humanize Jenny, right? Again, Jenny being the AI that we, of course, that's what we named her after we started working with Second Nature. And we introduced the software, Second Nature, by the approach we took was really treating Jenny, right, who is the AI avatar that Shell provided. We treated her like the newest member of the sales enablement team. So at one of our all hands, we actually kicked off by introducing Jenny. We gave her the job title of sales enablement manager, sales simulation manager. Let's be clear. She was our sales simulation manager on the sales enablement team. And what we did was we actually had her, we had a member of the sales enablement team join as Jenny. And we did a fun little banter back and forth. So everyone actually got to see her talking to other members of the sales enablement team. Again, this was all pre-programmed and played off, not necessarily what the Second Nature really does, but really cool way to get the reps to see her, to meet her before the training. So she truly felt like another member of the sales enablement team and not some fancy AI software. And we concluded by having Jenny even tell everyone how excited she was to meet everyone. And she was going to put together a competition on who could get the highest score with her. So in conjunction with introducing Jenny as a person, right, really treating the software as another member of the team, and by doing a competition where keeping everything team-based. And it was, everyone had to talk to Jenny, and we took the highest average, or we looked at which team had the highest score, meaning every member of the team had to participate. And what we found was by that building a competition around talking to Jenny and practicing the new messaging, right, we sort of gamified the situation where reps naturally wanted to practice more and more to make sure their team score rose up. And they certainly didn't want to be the person who just didn't do it, because that 0 really weighed the team down. So by making it fun, engaging, and treating Jenny like a member of the team and not as another piece of software, we actually really found that all of our sales reps globally, right, really embraced the program. They adopted the software, and most importantly, they really got comfortable with the new messaging.
That's great. That's great. So what was the, I don't know if you could share the numbers, but how many people did it, or what percentage of the people actually completed it? How does that compare to other programs that you ran? I know that you're many years in sales enablement. So what was the perception?
We were actually able to get almost 100% participation with the program. There's your normal exceptions of folks being out of the office for different personal matters. But in my entire experience of working at companies like Oracle and Salesforce prior to Zoom, I've never seen a program adopted and embraced as successfully as the Jenny AI program that Second Nature helped us build. And it really was because the feedback I heard from reps was they were all skeptical too, thinking I'm going to talk to an AI. But once they actually saw her start to respond to them, and most importantly, the feedback, the tailored coaching and feedback she would give at the end, it really helped everyone have this aha moment of, wow, it's 2020 and this is really where technology has progressed to. Holy crap, AI is a very real thing that can solve very real problems now. So once they got a taste of how real this program was, the next thing we saw was they wanted to practice more and more, not just because of the competition, but because Jenny really gave them a safe space to practice their messaging, to build that muscle memory, to talk about new things, and to really honestly to fail in a judgment-free environment, and then get feedback from Jenny about what they could do better, and then practice again and improve on what it was they might have just struggled in the previous simulation. That's the type of feedback I started to hear from the reps, and they shared that amongst each other too. So it really scaled virally on its own. And then when you throw in some cool prizes for the competition, the icing on the cake.
That's great. That's great. And then, we did a couple of times or a few times, and just to give a sense for the people who are listening, like after you set her up, how long would it take to get like the entire population certified? Is this like days, weeks, months? What would be the time frame for that?
Yeah, I mean, we ran, because it was the start of our fiscal year, we did want it to be kind of more of a fun competition. So we gave the reps just over 2.5 weeks to practice as many times as they wanted to. Whatever you're doing with competition, you want to try and keep it fun and not really cutthroat by going like you got 3 days. So it was intentionally set to be about 2.5 weeks at the beginning of the fiscal year. So there wasn't a lot of other projects or programs or trainings going on. So it really became a fun global thing.
Yeah, and I remember you told me before you did some, like there was a chatter inside the internal Zoom chat about it, like posting the leaderboards and talking about who surpassed who. It was a nice prize at the end. So how did you kind of create this? I think that for the people who are in sales enablement or listening, how did you manage to create this excitement around this tool, apart from the technology itself, just in terms of getting everybody engaged?
Yeah, so what we did, of course, being at Zoom, is we leveraged Zoom chat to make sure that all the different teams and all the different segments, right, our enterprise segment, our small business segments, we made sure to post daily leaderboards. Again, that Second Nature provided, so it would literally give us just a complete view saying, hey, the enterprise team's in first place, followed closely by our small business team. Third place is our commercial sales team. So we would post those in the different segment chats, so all of our segment leaders would sort of see how their org was doing. And then we made sure that in all the team chats, you would post like, hey, here's how all the reps on your team are doing stack rank, so they could see each other and see how they were comparing. And yeah, to your point, Ariel, what we didn't expect was the onslaught of gifts and funny smack talk that proceeded to happen as people in teams started to change places. I mean, it got from reps talking crap to other reps all the way up to segment leaders and heads of, who shall remain nameless, talking crap to other heads ofs who, as they proceeded to try and become the #1 org in all of Zoom globally at practicing the new messaging. I mean, that's also equal part sort of the fun culture we have going on here. But when you start to layer in Second Nature AI plus Zoom chat, you get this really fun experience, and yeah, you get all these reps who are really competitive.
And I think also the fact that, and this was kind of a great insight on your part, the fact that we designed it as a team competition versus a personal competition did a lot of that team dynamics, right? So once you're part of a team and it's a team score and either the team wins or the team loses, especially in an organization like Zoom that has many teams, it becomes something that everybody needs to kind of pull their own weight, and it increased the participation pace. So what's next now that you've done with that? You've done a few products. So how do you see that progress in Zoom over time? How do you structure it as part of a cadence? I know that you're now thinking about your cadence in terms of the training. How does the roadmap look for you guys with that?
Yeah, so what we're really doing now is looking through all of the new decks that are coming out, all the new messaging around the different value propositions. And as we're building out our new decks, what we're doing is using our LMS system to really document what is the key messaging for each slide. Are there certain questions that rep should ask on different slides? And then we're still using our LMS to teach that. But what we want to do every time now is add Jenny as sort of the final boss to the end of the training, meaning we teach you how to do certain messaging to different personas. And then at the end, in order to complete the training, you've got to, from the LMS, launch the simulation with Jenny, which will take on a persona and begin to ask questions to make sure the rep actually has to practice what we just taught them. And they have to get, of course, a certain score with Jenny in order to complete the course. So not necessarily a team competition here, but just more a competency score to make sure, you can do it with Jenny over and over again. We don't care how many times you do it. You just got to get a certain score that lets us know that you're comfortable with the messaging. And what's great about this, Ariel, is as we do this with all our reps in seat, every single one of those trainings then go to our onboarding team to make sure all new reps, as they join Zoom, have to also meet with Jenny. They learn the messaging, and then they got to get a certain score with her in order to be able to proceed from onboarding to actually get in seat, get their quotas, their territories, etc.
Amazing. This is great. I'm so looking forward to it. I think we're going on now for about 20 minutes or maybe a little bit more. Is there anything else that we should have talked about but we didn't, that you think is important to cover?
I think we touched on it already, but I would say, just to bring it up one more time, one of the things I'd say that's most important for people to know about leveraging AI technology is how important it really is to humanize the AI. Again, Zoom took some of the extreme steps of, we did things as funny as going and actually having Jenny even join a meeting like this, where we'd actually even pop her up. And we could have, and again, someone would, I'd come off the screen and I could take on her persona like this. So now it looks like she's talking to you. This is just some of the creative stuff we did at Zoom when we introduced Jenny to all of our users to make sure that, so again, it makes it funny, it makes it fun, and it makes people sort of excited to actually try it out. So different techniques, whether it's doing fun stuff like this or introducing Jenny as a member of your sales team or enablement team, these types of creative strategies, they don't really get talked about a lot, Ariel, but what I found is this was the best way to get second nature really adopted at Zoom, which is just by treating Jenny like anybody else, like you treat a member of your team. So would want to share that with everybody because I think that it gets overlooked, but it's really part of the secret sauce to get adoption and to get the change that I think companies want with their orgs.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, Mike, that from our perspective, working with you and with the amazing team at Zoom for sales enablement, it was just such a great journey so far in building that and bringing the insights on how to roll this change management out to the team, which has been really insightful. So I think that on that positive note and great vibe, I think we should wrap up for today. If there are any questions, feel free to email us. We'll have the emails in here. Would love to chat. I'm sure Mike would love to kind of share his insights and knowledge to fellow sales enablement people. And thank you so much for taking the time and coming and seeing this short presentation.
Take care, Roy.